So just to dive right in, why don't you introduce yourself and give a brief introduction of MTopSwap, for those who might not be so familiar with it, and then we can dive into the specifics.
Yeah, fantastic. I'll preface Pioneer is up here with me. He's our business development person, and he helps a lot spreading word, and he's also working with the Recovery One efforts for Harmony specifically. So yeah, essentially we are a software as a service that offering a different type of DEX aggregator, not the type that gives you the best output. Well, that too, eventually, but the type that allows you to trade multiple coins at the same time. And to illustrate that, it's kind of a new concept. So I've just pinned a tweet to the board up here that has a very short 15-second video. I had audio recorded, but you don't need it. That kind of highlights what we're trying to solve, and that is when I first started in DeFi, I found it very confusing to have to navigate to a million different tabs and a million different swap pages that only offer one A to B swap. And literally just hundreds of them on Ethereum, Phantom, Avalanche, Harmony, etc. It's just one A to B swap. And during the bull run, at least in December and January, I found it extremely difficult to manage my portfolio when I had to navigate to 20 different URLs. First of all, find them when I was new, right? And navigate to 20 different URLs to trade my tokens. So we wanted to make one that has more than one swap on a page from multiple different DEXes. And that video I shared, it's about 15 seconds long, kind of highlights that specifically, where you can have up to 50, even 100 different DEXes open at one time simultaneously on one screen. And that's our minimum viable product. So that's kind of the overall idea. We use NFTs as recurring subscriptions, meaning the NFTs expire after 30, 90, or 360 days, just like you pay monthly for Adobe or any other software. We're kind of highlighting the use of NFTs aside from just JPEGs to use them as actual subscriptions to our software. And in the future, we intend to essentially, we started on Harmony One, and as you guys may know, there's a lot of issues with that recently. So we do intend to add all this functionality to the over 40 EVM chains that are currently showing on DEX Screener currently. So that's an overview, and I can let Pioneer introduce himself as well.
Okay, very cool. And
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm Pioneer. I'm doxed, so my name's actually Logan. But yeah, I do the business development here at MTopSwap. I've been with these guys since day one. And yeah, I'm also a Harmony community member, so I do a few other things on the side there. But yeah, I'm excited to meet you guys and hear about your project. I don't know anything about it.
Good to have you. So I guess just to start, what sets you guys apart from some of the other swap aggregators like Rango Exchange and I believe Wand? I don't know if you guys heard of them. They're building another multi-chain aggregator. So what sets you guys apart, and what are the incentives for a user to buy a subscription as opposed to using some of the other alternatives out there?
Yeah, so quite simply, it's kind of hard to explain because it's a very, very new concept. Literally no protocol on any chain has built this. But if you go to app.mtopswap.one or watch the video, you'll see that we have multiple A to B swaps on one screen. So DEX aggregator is used as a typical term that we've gotten used to over the past few years, which typically means you get the best output cross-chain for the tokens that you want. But what we're offering is not a DEX aggregator. It's a multi-swap aggregator. So you're able to see Rango and Wand and PancakeSwap and DEXes on Harmony One all together on the same screen without having to go to different URLs. So at a very fundamental level, they still only have one A to B swap, whereas we have up to 100 of them.
Gotcha. And have you guys sold the NFTs yet? Have you had a sale of those, or is that something that's planned for the future?
Yeah. So the NFTs are essentially recurring subscriptions. So we had a pre-sale, and we have currently 42 total subscribers, meaning they would mint an NFT every 30 or 90 or 360 days to maintain access to the software. Because again, nobody's really building what we have on any chain. It's not just a DEX aggregator where most people's eyes roll over and they revert to what we've heard and known for years and years. It is something completely different that nobody is building at all, still somehow, that offers more than one swap on a single page, as well as the functionalities of a typical DEX aggregator.
Okay. So could you dive into the details of the subscription a little bit? How does that work? Does a user pay in stable coins? What happens if I stop paying and I want to resume service at some point in the future? Do I have to pay? Do I just pay for that? If I want to do it, let's say I pay for 2 months, then I stop for for several months, and then I want to resume service again. I would just pay whatever the monthly fee is.
Yeah, so we use price oracles to determine the USD value of both Harmony One and our utility token MTOP, which is on Harmony One.
Mm-hmm.
Basically split it 50-50, and you mint an NFT that obviously shows up in your wallet after you mint it. And we basically go off duration. So there's a 30-day or 1 month option. There's a 90-day or a 3 month option. And there's a 360-day, which is basically a year option. And what that allows is instead of like a renewal each month, you can choose the duration of the subscription itself. And there's basically a custom Web2 plugin that reads timestamps, metadata in the NFT that shows when it was minted, right? And says after 30 days, disallow access to the software. After 90 days, disallow after 360 days, depending on the subscription.
Gotcha. Looking through some of the benefits of the subscription, I see that one of the other things offered to holders of the NFT is access to upcoming projects. Could you break those down a little bit? They seem interesting. I see auto due diligence, wallet notifications, honeypot detections. How far along are you guys with some of those upcoming features listed here? And would these features only be benefits that holders receive, or would they be available more generally?
Pioneer, I'll let you answer that one if you want to.
Yeah, for sure. So, like honeypot detection and auto due diligence are features that we're really, really excited about. And actually, for the auto due diligence, we have a prototype of that we've used internally for a while now. That's kind of the inspiration for what that will look like down the road on our official website. And that is something that's access to anybody that is both an NFT holder, or later on when we go multi-chain, there'll be greater opportunities there. But those are like Q1, Q2, 2023 things that we'll have deployed. Some of it requires engineering. These are tools that do not exist in Web3 right now, but they're extremely useful. I'm a huge fan of due diligence and do your own research. But at the same time, as a project leader, part of what we do is kind of do the research for our community and let them kind of figure out what to make of that. But yeah, the auto due diligence is going to pull up a dashboard basically that's going to show you all of their socials. It'll get you a link to their white paper. It'll have links to their charts. It'll really have all of the relevant information that you can pull with like a contract address or a keyword search. So really, really excited about that tool. And that's really where you get into differentiating us from a lot of other projects that are DEX aggregators that people love to use as a buzzword, but that are not the same as MTOP at all.
Very cool. And are you inputting a lot of that information manually on your side and actually doing the research behind these projects?
So actually, that's how it was inspired. We would do something like that. We have in our Discord server channels that are like, oh, this is likely a legit project. This is likely a scam. And we did that all manually. And then we found a way to actually propagate a lot of that information using API calls. So yeah, it's sort of emulating what we used to do manually. Same with the wallet blacklist. There were, in a bear market, a little bit less relevant, but in a bull market, there were so many scam coins coming out left and right and honeypots coming out. Mm-hmm. And we built a database to determine like if this was funded by a known bad actor, or if this doesn't hold up on the socials. Like basically, we found criteria that we could pin against a contract address and determine quite fast, like within the first 5 minutes of it being deployed to mainnet, whether or not it was likely legit or likely a scam. And we were usually right about that. So that's kind of the origin story. But yeah, it's basically taking away the necessity of time, and giving you that dashboard in which you can easily determine if something's a scam, because it's going to be, mostly empty. So yeah, it's really derived from early on our insight into figuring those things out, and then using technology to emulate that and to also streamline it.
Gotcha. And I imagine that these are features provided as a benefit for NFT holders. But what I thought of, and I don't know if this is something you guys have explored, is offering some of these features to other projects as a service, as an additional revenue source. Is that something that you guys have considered? Or?
So basically, I pinned a secondary tweet on the top of this. If you guys look up, it clearly illustrates like why we're different from the other DEX aggregators, because we're able to show multiple at once, which again has been our hardest obstacle, to be honest, to communicate to people, because it's completely new concepts for DeFi, like entirely, and it's kind of hard for people to grasp, like, why should I care? Why is this blah blah blah? But this is our minimum viable product, and what Pioneer was elaborating was a once manual process where we looked at the creator, wallet activity, low liquidity and volume, holders list, socials to evaluate bots, looked at their white paper and website, and kind of like did our due diligence manually, to using API calls and automatically drawing, the age of their Twitter account, their average likes and retweets, their market cap and liquidity, their top 5 holders, etc., and things like that, where people can draw their own conclusions using API calls, as you mentioned. And these are the types of tools that we're going to build on top of our minimum viable. But so that will provide more value to the NFT subscriptions themselves. And as you mentioned, we have revenue sources also where we can offer our front end UI, which again offers for multiple swaps at the same time. You can even do 2 of the same DEX and trade the same tokens side by side, press swap on both, and avoid being sandwiched by bots, which is a cool utility. But yeah, we can offer this front end UI to other projects. And finally, on another note, since this is minimum viable, we're eventually going to add price charts to each of these, just like Trader Joe, where you have like kind of a simple chart next to the swap, which is their initial main benefit. We're going to have one of those for each of these DEXs individually for each coin. So we'll be able to we're not going to use DEX screen or embeds on that. We're going to do our own. We're going to do it from scratch essentially, and we'll be able to gain additional revenue sources through B2B efforts, as you mentioned, kind of like that with Price API, as well as our front end UI in general.
Very cool. So I see that part of the roadmap for you guys includes multi-chain expansion. So how will that look? Is that will that essentially be allowing users to mint your NFTs on other chains, or will it entail something beyond that?
That's a great question with somewhat of a long answer. So essentially, we started on Harmony One. I started my crypto journey on Harmony One, as well as many others did. Some of us on our core team of 5 started on Binance Smart Chain and even Avalanche. But I started on Harmony, and we applied for a Harmony grant, which was a long process, but we finally got approved. And as some may know, Harmony got hacked for $100 million a few months ago, which kind of threw their entire DeFi ecosystem into turmoil. On top of an already bad spending spree on overdowing themselves, basically. They spent millions of dollars on DAOs that provided no tangible benefit to the chain, because, everyone's emotions were running high in December and January when we had the idea. So essentially, we're on Harmony One to build because we love the community, and we do believe that the DeFi can be reinvigorated through efforts such as Recovery One, which Pioneer here is a part of, one of 3 people, literally partnering with Harmony Core and working out a Frankenstein solution to come up with $100 million in funds to back unbacked assets, essentially, because 100 million is a lot of money for a smaller chain. So that being that being said, it's something I feel passionate about, like of both maintaining our loyalty to our initial community and making sure our initial NFT holders get rewarded for the support, but also understanding that we are a business in trying to form a company here, and we need revenue, and the best way to do that is to expand user base. Obviously, on the over 40 EVM chains on DEX Screener. And many people don't even know there's that many. Of course, we know Avalanche, Phantom, Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum. But go on DEX Screener. There's over 40 of them. So we do plan to add this functionality where you can have multiple DEXs open at once and save the way you have them all laid out, so you don't have to do them manually each time. For all 40 EVM chains, including Avalanche, which we love and know dear and are knowing more dearly each day with AMAs like these, and Binance Smart Chain, which has the most number of users by far, right? So the way we plan on doing that is since we are a small project and funding was limited, right? Just like many of us, especially in this bear, we have about a 2-year runway if we made $0 at this point. So we have plenty of funding at this point, but we want to scale efficiently. And the way to do that would be to add this functionality on all other chains except for Harmony One as a free-to-use product that is a bit more basic than the product on Harmony One. Now, initially, obviously, we said, oh, well, what about the people who subscribed on Harmony One? They'll have more features than the multi-chain product. That multi-chain product will be on MTopSwap.com instead of .one, and will be free to use, as mentioned, and we'll use transaction fees as revenue for that. So our old subscribers on Harmony One, they get features like price charts and the due diligence tool that we just talked about that the multi-chain people who have a free to use product won't have. However, we talked about this with all of our largest holders in our community very, very transparently as we came up with it, because some of us were worried they would be upset, right? Like, a feature I paid for is being offered for free on another chain. But the idea is to take both the user data that we get from adding all 40 chains and seeing who's using it, and the revenue from the transaction fees, which will be on par with other slightly lower than the average transaction fee on a DEX, which is 0.3% or so, and basically migrate the NFT subscriptions to one chain at a time outside of Harmony, if that makes sense, and kind of scale it slowly like that. I hope I illustrated that without talking too much, but it's kind of a complicated concept to explain.
Let me ask you a question. Are the NFT, I guess 2 questions. First, are the NFTs transferable?
Yes, they are, via Tofu NFT and eventually other third parties.
So if I wanted to, could I bridge my NFT to one of the other chains that you guys are supporting to access my subscription there? Or would I need
the idea is, at first, since it's not scalable to code 43 different smart contracts and price oracles for all 43 chains, we want to scale a minimum product without NFT subscriptions, free to use, as mentioned, and only transaction fees. And then one by one, migrate the NFT subscriptions to each chain individually, like one at a time. So at first, no, but over time, yes. If that makes sense. So we'll use, because we have to scale outside of Harmony One. We basically built a small, like, shop in a shopping mall, and the shopping mall burned down around us because Harmony One went from 1 billion with a B TVL to 30 million and declining, which is an insane drop, as well as all stable coins being depegged massively. So we had to come up with a solution to both ensure the longevity of our treasury, right, and make sure we get revenue through a free-to-use non-NFT subscription product off Harmony One, but eventually adding the NFT subscriptions with the additional features that Harmony One users enjoy, like the auto due diligence feature and price charts, one by one on each chain, if that makes sense. Like, because we'll have the data to see which users are on which chains at that point, and can migrate them over one at a time in a responsible way. I
see that one of our audience members, Solzaki, is requesting to come on. I think we'll add them to the stage so they can ask their question, if that's all right with you guys.
Please do.
All right.
Hello, sir.
So Zaki, you're on stage. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, though it's evening here. Maybe it's not evening on your side. Hope you guys are all
Sure.
doing well.
You too?
Thank you. So my question is that like high taxes is a burden for investors. More investors can be attracted only by reducing the investment threshold to a minimum. So can we rest assured both small investors and large investors can find their value here? What are the taxes of your taking?
Sure. Are you talking about the transaction fees themselves?
Yeah.
So initially, right now we have no transaction fees. It's subscription only. So it's like a 7-day free trial to the software itself. And again, this is minimum viable. We released less than a month ago, and there are no transaction fees. The transaction fees will come on a simpler multi-chain product, and quite simply, the main attraction is that nobody else is offering this on a chain with like Binance Smart Chain, where there are almost 40 different DEXes, which you have to navigate to 40 different URLs and 40 different websites to access those DEXes. It'll be beneficial for users who trade tokens on more than one, or more than one tokens on one DEX, to be able to see their current balances and trades all at once without having to navigate to 40 different websites at once. So that's the value that we're going to bring to people who trade more than one token on DeFi.
Okay.
Pioneer, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but that's I hope that kind of answers your question. I'm not sure.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you said it pretty well.
Yeah. Thank you for the answer. Thank you. And will you be printing your NFT on T-shirts, shoes to make more money for the project? Like it's kind of something
It's
like
funny
that.
because so the whole concept of our NFT is that it isn't used for its picture or aesthetic qualities. Like the picture is very basic. It's not meant to be a cool piece of art or something visually pleasing. It's purely a means of a subscription to the service and the software itself. So on that end, we won't be printing our NFT on T-shirts because, quite frankly, it's not aesthetically pleasing, and it's not meant to be an aesthetic value. It's meant to be be used as using the technology behind NFTs to show people that it doesn't just have to be a JPEG or a character or something like that, but it's literally just a recurring subscription to software, just like we pay monthly for Netflix or Adobe or anything else.
All right. Thank you for your answers. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you for asking those questions. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
If anyone else has any more questions, you can raise your hand and we'll get you on the stage. One other thing that I didn't ask you guys about that I noticed in your white paper is you have something called MTop Premium. I think it provides you access to private channels on your Discord. What exactly is that, and what are the, I guess, exclusive perks offered to people who have access to those channels?
Pioneer, you can take this one if you want.
Yeah, so that actually, we kind of did answer that, but we glossed over it. So when I was saying about the prototype for the due diligence, we started this out by maintaining that wallet blacklist, by announcing the information on new pairs that popped up as they popped up, and the prototyping, it was all done in Google Sheets, actually. A lot of the API calls and such that we prototyped to figure out what we want to do with our project were done and posted in the MTop Premium channel of our Discord, which, that will get deprecated once all of those bits of utility are incorporated in our actual website. But that's really back to the origin story. When we were kind of field testing different ideas, we had this premium area of the MTop Discord that was a series of channels that gave you access to those prototypes that, some of them were basically earnings trackers for liquidity pools. So you could see how your liquidity pools were doing on a day-to-day basis. And then maybe at the end of the month, reevaluate where your holdings were. So there were a lot of resources like that alongside the Blacklist wallet tracker and things like that. So yeah, it's kind of, like I said, gonna get phased out in favor of the actual software, but it was basically all of the prototype housing.
Gotcha. And then one other cool thing I see you guys have is a bounty system. So what sort of tasks would be included there, and is that system already in place?
Yeah, so we've had the bounty system since we started in about March or so. That includes anything from graphics that we use to incentivizing people to invite people to Discord, of course. Typical bounties. It also involves things like bug fixing, or even coming up with solutions that we intend to at least partially implement in the future. Bounty can kind of really be anything, right? So, we have trivia nights, we have esports events, we have so many different things going on in our Discord. It's easy to incentivize people in kind of random and never really consistent ways in the bounties channel. And a lot of people have won quite a bit of money so far. So, I mean, to give you a good example, Arcadian is in this chat here. Another great project building an entire arcade and a racing game on Harmony One, and have been for the past few months, and doing great work. Really, really, really great quality there. And on their 8-ball pool game, they had a request to us to make an MTop themed pool table, because they're partnering with projects to give them like their own pool table to bet and use that project token on, right? And so designing that pool table was a bounty, right? So that's just an example of one of the incentives we give to our community on a regular basis.
Gotcha. I think we just about addressed everything in the Gitbook docs. Is there anything else that we haven't covered yet that you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, so I want to stress that this is our product is out on only Harmony One, and the DeFi system in Harmony One has really deteriorated since we had this initial idea. So the original use case was when shitcoins were popping off left and right in December and January, and it was extremely hard to track and trade everything. Even not as an experienced trader, but like just in general, there's so much happening, and as you know, on Avalanche and especially Binance Smart Chain and Ethereum, there's many different projects people can be involved in. So I just wanted a simpler way to do it besides navigating to all these different websites, and seemingly not a single one on any of these ecosystems had built more than one swap on a page. It's very simple, just more than one A to B token swap on a page. Every aggregator is just giving you the best price. But what if you want to see 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 side by side on different DEXes? You can't do that anywhere. So that's kind of what we're trying to solve, and that's just the very, very beginning. As I mentioned, we released 3 weeks ago, and yeah, we intend to build on Harmony One for the next few months and expand a free to use, more limited product to pretty much every EVM chain out there come November or December.
Very cool. I'll give our audience, another 1 or 2 minutes to raise their hand or post any questions they have, and then I think we can sort of close the AMA from there, unless there's anything else that you guys wanted to add or any finishing thoughts.
China, you have anything? Or Logan, I should say. Sorry, I'm David also, by the way.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we kind of covered all of the basics. Yeah, no, I'm just really excited to keep an active community going, in the middle of this terrible bear market. I think that's the most important thing that we can do, is just keep up with the energy levels and giving the community something to both look forward to and participate in.
Very cool. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming on today. It was a pleasure hosting you guys, or I guess in this case, you're hosting us technically.
Well, technically, yeah. But
yeah. Hopefully we'll convene again sometime in the future. Maybe we'll have an AMA for lava.
Yeah, we absolutely should. I think it would be only fitting. I think we should do that sooner than later. So, looking forward to that.
All right. Great AMA, guys. Thanks again for coming on. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for everyone who tuned in.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Thanks.